this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
People at work supported me while I was going through treatment by not treating me like somebody who was going through treatment. Treatment sucks. Cancer sucks. Being engaged with work really helped to, I just knew I was going to beat this thing.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
The Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
God's plans for you are for good.
Be inspired.
Get ready. God is about to exceed your expectations.
Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
You are coming out of that dry place into more than enough.
Daily encouragement right when you need it.
There are opportunities in your future bigger than you can imagine.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
This is Red Pilled America. The revelations of Dr. Fauci's diary have us all angry, reliving the lunacy of the COVID shutdowns. We must never forget how COVID brought a taste of communism into America. While we're working on new episodes this week, we'll be playing a few episodes from the COVID era that we haven't replayed in years, including this one titled The Tipping Point, which was originally broadcast on December 12th, 2020. And if you want to get Red Pilled America ad-free, go to redpilledamerica.com and click Join in the top of the menu. Now on with the show. We live in incredibly polarizing times. Some say not since the Civil War have Americans been so divided.
So this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. We ain't playing with you.
Put your mask on.
Get away from me,
Put it
please.
on. Does it bother anybody else that she doesn't have to wear a mask that we all do?
Destroying property which can be replaced is not violence.
We want all the Republican challengers out of this room.
Among our people, there is no shortage of disagreement. But can anything bridge the gap? Is there an issue that can bring Americans together? I'm Patrick Corelchi.
And I'm Adriana Cortez.
And this is Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
This is not another talk show covering the day's news. We're all about telling stories.
Stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear.
Stories the media mocks. Stories about everyday Americans that the globalists ignore.
You can think of Red Pilled America as audio documentaries, and we promise only one thing. The truth. Welcome to Red Pilled America. Even our oldest scholars agree that we live in the most polarizing moment of modern times. At no time since the Civil War have Americans been so divided on fundamental issues gripping our republic. But even in these vitriolic times, is there an issue that can unify Americans? To find the answer, we're going to tell the story of Andrew Gruel, a chef and an entrepreneur that grinded away until he achieved his American dream, becoming a successful restaurateur. Andrew didn't set out to be a rebel, but when the moment arose, he took a stand and found an issue that should bring us all together.
A Along with his wife Lauren, Andrew Gruel is the co-founder and executive chef of Calico, a Huntington Beach-based seafood chop house celebrating all things land and sea. He's also the purveyor of a food porn newsletter called American Gravy. He knows better than anyone about the challenges of owning a restaurant during the never-ending government shutdowns.
Right before I got on this podcast, I'm looking over bills from agencies I didn't even know existed. Office of Tourism, who knows what office they're trying to hit us with in the middle of a pandemic.
That's Andrew.
We haven't been able to open in one of our restaurants, but I'm still getting hit with all the ABC bills. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough in the restaurant industry and retail in general.
With movie star good looks and an electric personality to match, he never meant to become the pioneer of a resistance. But Andrew became exactly that. Chef Andrew Gruel grew up in New Jersey.
I was the product of two working parents, latchkey child, if you will. They're working their butts off all day, every day until 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
His upbringing did not exactly trigger his later passion.
I make the joke, I say I'm the Sara Lee chef. It was microwave Sara Lee, and every now and then we were fortunate enough when my sister got her license that I could go get McDonald's. So, that was the height of my culinary upbringing. However, I realized at a young age I loved food because I used to skip school, and I caught myself at home watching all those original, this was pre-Food Network, PBS shows, Jan Kan Cook, Lydia Bastianich, Jacques Pepin, those just real comfortable dump and stir TV shows.
I'm going to show you two types of omelette. A kind of country French omelette, which is basically the way we do it in America, and then a classic French omelette.
So that definitely gave me the bite, and then I started reading Escoffier and like Joy of Cooking and all these cookbooks that my mom had at home, making a mess in the kitchen when I'd skip school. She'd come home, hit me with the wooden spoon.
When he was old enough to begin working, Andrew naturally looked for a kitchen with an opening.
My first job was in a food service restaurant, catering, and then proceeded to keep working food jobs while I was trying to go to college for other avenues.
Andrew went to Bates College, a private liberal arts school in Maine, initially to study piano performance and philosophy.
I went to a small liberal arts college up in Maine. I mean, it was like 1,500 kids, and everybody was up there like studying art history and things in which you would never have any career path. I thoroughly enjoyed the intellectual gymnastics, if you will, but I realized right away, like, I need to work. I mean, I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week.
And that desire to get his hands dirty was driven by his love for the ocean, and he just so happened to be in the lobster capital of America.
I always loved the ocean, right? So while I failed in science, I had a passion for marine biology and understanding what was going on with the ocean and kind of the biodynamic nature of that environment and how it affects us. So it was certainly a passion that I never was truly able to galvanize from a science perspective, but being able to get hands-on with it in an economy, right? I mean, because the main economy is driven by the lobstermen. I mean, it's a true fisherman's economy, one of the few artisanal fishing economies that's left in the United States. I worked at a lobster restaurant right on the coast, and part of their selling proposition, as well as their business model, was they owned part of the supply chain, so they had lobster boats that would go out. And I was able to kind of help haul, pull up traps, do a lot of the basic things, not specifically with that restaurant, but with other lobstermen around the area. So it was always just about a couple extra hours here or there, hands-on stuff and learning the industry, learning seafood, really getting into the industry and getting my hands dirty, and said to myself, this is the career path I want. So it just bit me in the butt, and I left college only after a short period of time, and then just hit the road working for as many chefs as I could.
Andrew worked in every kind of kitchen you could imagine, from fine dining restaurants and hotels like the Ritz-Carlton to the midnight shift at Denny's.
Every kitchen has its own personality, and that's the beauty of the kitchen. I mean, it's always a band of pirates. I think that it's become different nowadays because it got glamorized and Hollywood took over with the Food Network, so you started seeing every single kid go to culinary school for $60,000 a year thinking they're going to step out and become an executive chef. But I remember when I was going through the ringer, it was the days of the Anthony Bourdain type of kitchens, bone in the throat. Band of pirates, just a bunch of people who were outcasts in other areas, and everybody ended up in the kitchen together, and that becomes your family, your team, and everything beyond. So after years of working in the industry, ultimately I landed back in Jersey, which is where I'm from, and I was running a few restaurants out there, huge restaurants, 500 seats underneath the toque, if you will, and then come to 2008 when the economy crashes.
In the throes of the 2008 financial crisis, restaurants got hit extra hard, and it forced downsizing throughout the industry.
And I said, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to step out and try and follow through on some passion projects of mine. So at the time, I was thinking about opening my own restaurant. I held back on that.
Instead, he went back to school to study food marketing. He also got a degree in culinary arts from Johnson & Wales University. And it wasn't long after that his phone rang.
And just serendipitously, I got a call from, hear me out, the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California, because they were headhunting. They got a grant from the Pacific Life Foundation to start a sustainable seafood program.
Sustainable seafood works to create a healthy balance between harvesting the ocean and the financial needs of fishing-dependent communities.
The crux of their program was that they wanted to target chefs because 80% of the seafood consumed in the U.S. is done so in restaurants. So they figured if they could train chefs to serve more responsible seafood, or at least have a more responsible dialogue about the type of seafood we're eating and the effects it has on the ocean, then they could target a larger number of people. So they needed somebody to run this program, a director of the program. They wanted a chef with marketing background and true culinary chops to talk to other chefs. So I was like, hey, let's back up. Remember, I love this marine biology thing. This is like my dream opportunity. So I packed up. And this nonprofit, right? This was not paying money. So it was like cash out all my savings, come out to California, and the next thing I know, I'm working in the aquarium, spending half my time on like touch tanks while simultaneously going out and working with all these chefs throughout Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, trying to engage them in the conversation about sustainable seafood.
Andrew worked on the program for about 3 years, and through the process, an idea began to form. Over the years, he'd come to the realization that in the seafood world, there was either really high-end establishments or greasy fried Long John Silver type restaurants. There was no in-between. A sweet spot wasn't being served. At the same time, through his work with the aquarium, he was learning more about the supply chain of seafood.
And when the grant came to the end of its time, I said, you know what, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I've been preaching this for 2.5, 3 years. I'm going to do it. I'm going to launch a concept that's for the people, fast casual, where we're going to serve the quality of fine dining seafood at the cost and convenience of faster food. Because I realized in the seafood world, you've got either high end or greasy fried Long John Silver.
So in 2011, Andrew tried to raise money to open a restaurant. However, in the wake of the financial crisis, he quickly learned that it wasn't going to happen. But as luck would have it, there was a new trend exploding within the food industry.
Food trucks in cities across the country. These rolling restaurants are popping up everywhere, providing hungry lunch breakers and late-night bar crawlers with a cornucopia of fast, easy fuel and all on the cheap. And running one means no office politics, just cooking and cash.
Food trucks had been around in one form or another for well over a century, but they'd largely been focused on fattening comfort food. The financial crisis presented an opportunity. Investors in new brick-and-mortar restaurants were nowhere to be found, while at the same time, people were looking for bargain eateries to meet their smaller budgets. Food trucks provided the perfect vehicle to bridge the gap. The startup cost was much cheaper than that of a restaurant, and the savings could be passed on to the customers. And there were some real success stories. The Koji Truck, a mobile Korean barbecue taco kitchen, was one of the first to show how this new business model could be lucrative. Andrew saw this new trend as a path to creating his first restaurant, albeit one on wheels.
So I said, screw it. I got as many credit cards as I could. I leveraged myself to the brim. Went into massive debt and started renting food trucks.
He found a guy selling tacos out of a truck.
I said, how much you make on your route? He goes, $450 a week. I said, I'll give you $500, give me the truck, and I'll buy my own stock.
He then got on the phone with his old seafood contacts in Maine.
Started having those guys ship lobsters out to me, friends from decades ago, and selling lobster rolls and fish tacos at like $5 and $10 off the food truck.
At first, he manned his mobile restaurant on his own.
So I went out with a white truck and I had somebody print a banner. I sketched out the logo, which was Slapfish with the hand, and we hung the banner on the side of the truck. I had a little bit of a social following, so I tweeted out, I'm doing $5 lobster rolls, real Maine lobster. I'm losing money, but I was doing it just to get people in, First hits on me, the pusher don't care. So, people just started showing up. And before I knew it, within like a week, we had lines of people and it just blew up.
As he started making money, he invested back into the business.
So we wrapped the truck. I created a dish called the Lobstacle. So the hood, it said home of the Lobstacle, but it was spelled backwards so that when you were driving and you looked in your rearview mirror, you'd read it the right way. And we went from 1 to 4 food trucks over a 6-month period. We had like 45 employees. It was really shooting fish in a barrel, pun intended. So in that short time frame, I was able to build up a huge following.
Things were taking off, but it wasn't long before the big hand of government came knocking.
Another passion of mine has always been politics. I volunteered all throughout high school. I ran our youth in government program and did a lot with various senators throughout New Jersey. So I was always aware of regulations, got a passion for reading things like the Federalist Papers, etc.
So he understood that government tends to find a way to make money on a profitable enterprise.
When I opened up the food trucks, I said, we're driving through loopholes right now. Within 4 months, the government's going to catch on to us and they're going to have their hands out. We paid $250 for one business license when we started with the food truck. When I pulled the food truck up to its last stop in December of that year, I was paying upwards of $3,000 a month in fees, business license, etc. The government realized how to get their hands into that industry very quickly.
With winter on the horizon, Andrew could see that he was under some time pressure to evolve the business.
And then once the weather hit, I said, shoot, if we don't get into a brick and mortar by December, we're done. So I literally went around knocking on people's restaurants that looked like they were empty and saying, hey, can I buy your restaurant? Can I buy your restaurant? How much cash to get out right now? I found a guy in Huntington Beach, wanted to get out of his bagel shop. He's like, give me $70,000 and you can have it. And so I went around and borrowed money from friends and family and anybody I could. $1,000 here, $500 there.
He gave them all equity in the business and began the transition from being a mobile to a brick-and-mortar restaurant. Like any small business, especially in the restaurant industry, Andrew was running on an extremely tight budget, so he had to do everything himself. Once he secured the bagel shop, he started to aesthetically transform the space with his small team. But just as he was preparing to open in April 2012, the pesky hand of the government came knocking on his front door again. And this time, it looked like they were going to put him out of business before he even got started.
All right, if you guys know anything about me, you know that I am crazy about my dogs. And let me tell you something. My English Bulldog Pablo had been suffering with the worst skin allergies. And then I started giving him Rough Greens in his food, and boy, what a difference that made. This stuff is amazing. Now Pablo is a Rough Greens dog for life. Rough Greens supports long-term health by providing live, bioavailable nutrients, including essential vitamins, minerals, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and omega oils. Rough Greens promotes longevity by addressing common nutritional deficiencies found in processed dog food. I don't just recommend Rough Greens, I depend on it to keep my dogs happy and healthy. Traditional dog food is shelf-stable for years because it's lifeless. Rough Greens brings the nutrition back, packed with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and omega oils. Rough Greens isn't dog food. It's a live nutritional supplement you add to your dog's food. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens. It's that easy, and I promise you will not regret it. Don't change your dog's food, just add Rough Greens. Rough Greens is offering a free Jumpstart trial bag. You just cover shipping. Use discount code RPA to claim your free Jumpstart trial bag at roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com, promo code RPA. So don't change your dog's food, just add Rough Greens and watch the health benefits come alive.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month. Even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. 0 tiers. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Though the headlines may change, the threats facing Israel remain. And while much of the world has moved on to the next story, Israeli families continue living with the reality of terrorism, uncertainty, and recovery. Communities remain on alert. Parents still think twice before sending their children to school. Families continue rebuilding their lives, knowing the next siren could come without warning. As Christians, we are all called to stand with God's children in times of need. And that's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews remains on the ground in the Holy Land each and every day, providing life-saving aid and food for struggling families, emergency assistance, bomb shelters, and critical support for those impacted by war. Now, even after the cameras leave and the headlines fade, the fellowship remains committed to Israel's most vulnerable. I want you to join the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews in praying for the people of Israel, for protection, for strength, and for lasting peace. Together, we can remind God's people that they're not alone. So stand with Israel in prayer today by visiting prayifcj.org. That's prayifcj.org.
Welcome back. So Andrew is living the life of an entrepreneur. He saw a niche in the restaurant market that was wide open: fine dining seafood at the cost and convenience of fast food. He started with a mobile kitchen, and his Slapfish food truck blew up. So much so that he decided to open a brick-and-mortar version in Huntington Beach. But just as he was getting ready to open, the pesky hand of government came knocking. Opening a restaurant is not an easy task. Anytime you're serving food, there's a labyrinth of regulations that must be met, and the process is not at all clear. But typically when you move into an existing space, you skip many of the obstacles set for new restaurants. When Andrew opened his brick-and-mortar Slapfish by buying the bagel shop, he thought he'd avoided those obstacles.
We were set to open on April 20th, 2012. I had marketed it, everything. We got passed through health department by having an above-ground grease interceptor, et cetera, et cetera. It was what was there. This new program they established called the FOG program, Fats, Oils, and Grease, they knock on my door on like April 15th, and they're like, where's your grease interceptor? I said, we were grandfathered in. They said, well, in July there's going to be new regulations that you need an underground one. I said, great, I'll open up, get some revenue, and we'll get it all set for July. And they were like, no, you need an underground grease interceptor now. Per what statute? I don't know. They're like, you're not opening.
So Andrew had to scramble to borrow another $13,000 to dig a hole in the ground to comply with this new, not yet enacted statute. But being the savvy entrepreneur that he was, he found a way to comply with yet another government regulation, a skill that would later be put to the test on a level he could never have imagined. Like his food truck, his Huntington Beach Slapfish restaurant was an immediate hit, so Andrew wanted to expand on the success.
Well, the idea was to build this to scale, right? The best effect I could have, I thought, was to get people to eat more of the right types of seafood, but we need to do that in scale. In order to really have that secret sauce, we needed to buy in larger bulk, right? Cut out the middleman, buy in bulk. The more bulk you can buy, the better the price. So we had to scale quickly, and we couldn't raise capital. Once again, even though we were showing strong unit economics on our store level, they kept saying, come back at 10 locations. All of them said, get to 10 locations. Well, I figured the only way I could get there was through franchising.
So in 2013, Andrew began franchising Slapfish.
So we opened our next location in 13, then 14, and started growing from there.
It eventually grew to 27 locations, including Arizona, throughout Southern California and Silicon Valley, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Maryland, South Carolina, Utah, Virginia, and even the UK. Slapfish was spreading. Andrew was also finding success in other arenas. His energy attracted Hollywood, which led to appearances on the Food Network, the Cooking Channel, and even the Today Show.
We're just wrapping up our shrimp cubano that we did for you on the web. And now, good to have you, Andrew. Congratulations. We're going to make what are you going to make, a burger, surf and turf?
Yeah, we're going to do a surf and turf burger. So if you want to grab some meat here with me, we're just going to pack some of these patties up.
First, though, guys, Andrew got married this weekend. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Really, really great.
So this is our honeymoon.
He also met a woman. They fell in love and quickly married. And after just a few months, they had a little one on the way. Andrew's entire life was falling into place. He had a successful restaurant and franchise business. He put his money where his mouth was by selling the sustainable seafood he'd been preaching for years. And he and his wife were growing the family, with 3 little ones under the roof and a 4th on the way. Life couldn't have been better. Until the early days of 2020.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious pneumonia outbreak in Wuhan City, and it's from the same family that caused the deadly SARS epidemic 17 years ago. It's a new type of coronavirus.
The word of a new virus coming out of China was slowly making its way into the news. But the first sign that trouble was brewing came to Andrew from a different source.
You know, I'm really akin to what's going on in the East because of seafood trade. So I had a lot of contacts that were in China and all these different spaces that were saying, look, something's coming, and just keep an eye out. It was affecting seafood prices and trade, so I was using some commodity index to kind of at least see what was on its way.
Then whispers from another avenue corroborated what he was seeing in the market.
Without naming names, we know some people that were, on the inside and kind of gave us a little bit of a heads up what the framework was going to look like. I don't necessarily think anybody understood the level.
In mid-March 2020, the Trump administration announced new guidance on the building coronavirus crisis.
Over the next 15 days, as we combat the virus, each and every one of us has a critical role to play.
It still wasn't clear how this would affect Andrew's industry. But the severity of the situation became clear a few days later when California became the first state to shut almost everything down.
We need to bend the curve in the state of California. And in order to do that, we need to recognize the reality. The fact is, the experience we're having on the ground throughout the state of California, the experience that's manifesting all across the United States, and for that matter, around the rest of the world, require us to adjust our thinking and to adjust our activities.
Overnight, the governor of California issuing a strict stay-at-home order to his state's 40 million residents, warning more than half of them, could become infected in the weeks ahead.
We shut down for a few days. We had to close. And look, you just go into kind of muscle memory, right? What's your panic response? My panic response is, how's this going to affect the family? And then what can we do to help, right? Like, that's our kind of family motto.
So they regrouped and began to put their motto into action. As chance would have it, being in the seafood business meant that he had some backstock of a product that was in high demand.
We were using face masks a lot because we get a whole tuna and you want the face mask on. So I put a call out, like I had customers that were coming in and getting face masks from us. You remember when nobody could get one? So we were giving out face masks to customers. I mean, we turned into like emergency mode.
They also began cooking food for their staff and others.
Right when we did reopen a few days after closing, right away, we said, okay, police, fire, EMT, all health workers, eat for free, hands down. And then we just kind of went into help mode.
And then, like any small business facing an unprecedented downturn, Andrew and his wife had to start making some tough decisions.
We were trying to figure out what's the avenue through which we're going to be able to support our team members. How many people do we have to let go? Can we pivot? How quickly can we pivot? So my wife and I, she's incredibly involved in the business, it was just that spinning, right?
Most restaurants around the country were allowed to provide takeout services, but for many, that wasn't enough to pay the bills. 2 weeks to slow the spread came and went, and it was unclear when governors were going to lift the ban on in-person dining.
Brilliant communication strategy, 14 days to slow the spread, right? I mean, why not? What's 14 days? Oh, and there's a stimulus on the way, $1,200 to every American? Sounds like a reasonable proposition to me. So I was on board with that. I think most people were, because it was kind of like, nah, this isn't gonna, no way. This would never, kind of trigger something bigger.
In the state of his flagship restaurant, it wasn't until California started approaching day 30 that Governor Gavin Newsom began showing some sign of allowing restaurants to open for in-person dining.
But in this transition, where we do see light at the end of the tunnel, where there is a ray of optimism and hopefulness that this too shall pass, it's also perhaps the most difficult and challenging phase of all.
But the governor still wasn't pulling the trigger. As the 2-week shutdown turned to 7, a few restaurant owners, out of desperation, began to flout the governor's order. But if you own a restaurant, you're not just in the food business, you're in the people business. And the people were clearly polarized on the issue of whether or not to reopen. The few restaurant owners that took the leap and opened their doors to in-person dining were getting some support from their regulars, but that was drowned out by the Karens and the media, who labeled anyone that didn't comply as super spreaders or worse.
A San Clemente restaurant owner who is reopening today, once again defying our state's shutdown orders.
We are here at Nomad's Canteen in San Clemente after a very popular reopening last week in which they sold out of everything. They are reopening again today, bringing those customers in for a dine-in service, which of course is not really allowed under various state and county orders, but everyone appears to be looking the other way. After restocking, they are planning to follow strict guidelines inside the restaurant, once again using social distancing with tables 6 feet apart. They, of course, are getting a lot of attention for this, and it's not all positive, including death threats.
Andrew was still trying to comply with the state's mandate. To do otherwise at the time would have been a risk that far outweighed the benefits. Most just weren't ready.
The point at which I realized that the 14 days to turn the spread was kind of turning on us was everything just became so polarized. People started tattletaling on their neighbors. You know, on the one end of the spectrum, it's like there's two options, right? You're either a denier or you're a communist. There's nothing in between.
It wasn't until over 9 weeks after the 2-week shutdown began that the California governor gave the thumbs up to restaurants to accept in-person dining, but with major restrictions.
As Orange County settles into phase 2 of its reopening plan, businesses continue to make adjustments to their plans to try and keep employees and customers safe.
We stepped inside Newport Coffee Company, which opened its doors fully to customers while still requiring physical distancing.
If you're in a group of more than 4, only one person can come in to kind of get your whole family's order.
Welcome to phase 2 of reopening businesses and restaurants in Orange County.
Yeah, so, obviously plexiglass all over the space, redesign the architecture and the footprint of all of our restaurants so that we can avoid having too many people close together. Printing the stand here signs. You kind of see the cut, copy, and paste across any retail operation. They're all the same.
But as he prepared to reopen, Andrew was facing an unexpected dilemma. The government was doling out unemployment at a level that incentivized people to stay home.
I had employees who I was trying to bring back, and they were like, look, I'm making $1,100 right now not to work. Granted, I know I could probably make $1,400, but I'd rather take the $300 loss to not work at all.
Andrew took to social media just to highlight this phenomenon, and when he did, he was blasted for simply conveying the issue.
Some people, their response is, well, you're not paying your employees enough. We pay our employees $20, $25 an hour, right? When the minimum wage is $13. Then they make tips. They can make upwards of $40 to $45 an hour with tips. That's not the point. The point is, if you don't have to work and you can make enough to cover your bills and more, you're not going to work, right? Like, I get it. I'm not calling those employees lazy. I totally get it. I had employees who were like, hey, I've always wanted to read Moby Dick. I'm going to sit home and read. Okay, cool.
The climate the service industry faced was daunting. They had to reduce their occupancy. Most California establishments had to limit in-person dining to outdoors. All the workers had to wear masks and face shields. But like the thousands upon thousands of restaurants, nail and hair salons, gyms, and the like that were starting to reopen, Andrew and his wife were just happy to get things moving again. But as winter began to approach, the red flags for a second shutdown began to show.
You may have heard that California Governor Gavin Newsom, or First Comrade, as I prefer to think of him, has issued a set of diktats about how and with whom and for how long you may celebrate Thanksgiving this year. It's a sad list. First rule of this year's Thanksgiving for our California comrades: your free celebration must be held outside.
These restrictions are getting out of hand.
especially in California. And I think we're reaching the point where people are going to say, stick it. I'm not going to live with this. I'm going to break out.
Now, up to this point, only a few restaurant owners disregarded the shutdown mandates. But then something happened. The dictators were getting caught disregarding their own orders.
Tonight, while Governor Newsom is telling all of us to have Thanksgiving dinner outside, he's facing some new fallout for that fancy birthday dinner party he went to at the French Laundry.
I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated. And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house. Instead, I chose to sit there with my wife and a number of other couples that were outside the household.
And Gavin Newsom wasn't the only hypocrite.
Well, San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo may have broken his own county's protocols by spending Thanksgiving with his elderly parents at their home in Saratoga.
Just hours after Los Angeles County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl voted to ban outdoor dining at LA County's 31,000 restaurants over COVID-19 safety concerns, she visited a restaurant in Santa Monica where she dined outdoors.
For months, Austin Mayor Steve Adler has taken to Facebook Live most nights to keep the community informed about the spread of COVID-19.
And in fact,
but as he issued this message on the night of November 9th,
and then we need to, stay home if you can.
He was doing it from a timeshare in Cabo San Lucas.
Within days of getting caught ignoring his own edicts, Governor Newsom made a mind-blowing announcement just 3 weeks before Christmas.
Today, we are pursuant to the blueprint we put out some 14 or so weeks ago, pulling that emergency brake. We've done it sequentially over the course of the last number of weeks, but we're doing it in a much more broad and much more comprehensive way today. We are announcing and introducing a regional stay-at-home order in the state of California.
And I kept saying it on social. I said, watch, this is going to spread. Newsom got busted for breaking his own rules, and he's going to take it out on small businesses because we're the ones who are banging the drum loud enough. And he did.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
I can't stop scratching my downtown. Yeah, but I'm not itching to go downtown and tell a receptionist I'm here to talk about my downtown. Some things you'd rather type than say out loud.
There's no question too embarrassing for Amazon Health AI. Chat your symptoms and get virtual care 24/7. Healthcare just got less painful.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Though the headlines may change, the threats facing Israel remain. And while much of the world has moved on to the next story, Israeli families continue living with the reality of terrorism, uncertainty, and recovery. Communities remain on alert. Parents still think twice before sending their children to school. Families continue rebuilding their lives, knowing the next siren could come without warning. As Christians, we are all called to stand with God's children in times of need. And that's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews remains on the ground in the Holy Land each and every day, providing life-saving aid and food for struggling families, emergency assistance, bomb shelters, and critical support for those impacted by war. Now, even after the cameras leave and the headlines fade, the fellowship remains committed to Israel's most vulnerable. I want you to join the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews in praying for the people of Israel, for protection, for strength, and for lasting peace. Together, we can remind God's people that they're not alone. So stand with Israel in prayer today by visiting PrayIRL.org. PrayIFCJ.org. That's PrayIFCJ.org.
I think when you're diagnosed with cancer, you crave a semblance of normalcy and control, and so work allowed me to be me. So I think it's really important that companies stay flexible. Cancer and a diagnosis can be all-consuming, but it doesn't have to be.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
Do you want to hear Red Pilled America stories ad-free? Then become a Backstage subscriber. Just log on to redpilledamerica.com and click Join in the top menu. Join today and help us save America one story at a time.
Welcome back to Red Pilled America. So in late 2020, one by one, politicians like California's Governor Gavin Newsom were caught breaking their own COVID shutdown orders. But in a mind-blowing turn, Gavin Newsom made an announcement just 3 weeks before Christmas. He called for a regional stay-at-home order in California.
And I kept saying it on social. I said, watch, this is going to spread. Newsom got busted for breaking his own rules, and he's going to take it out on small businesses because we're the ones who are banging the drum loud enough. And he did. You know, banning outdoor dining in Los Angeles, I said it's going to happen in the state. You know, Garcetti and Newsom, they're doing this. They're testing to see how far they can push things.
Here's what we are introducing today. We are now mandating that we are implementing a stay-at-home order for 3 weeks.
That was it. That was the tipping point that began the resistance of Shutdown 2.0. Andrew was one of the first to declare that he was going to defy the order. He took to social media to make his case.
Okay, I've got everybody blowing up my replies right now saying I'm a grandmother killer and that we don't take this pandemic seriously, so I'm just going to address it all right here so that I actually don't have to individually go back and forth and box with every single one of these fake accounts. So here's the situation. Do we take the pandemic seriously? Of course we do. Am I saying that we shouldn't close outdoor dining? Yes, I am. At every single juncture along the way here, from the beginning shutdown to today, we've listened to all of the advice from our government officials, only to be shut down over and over and over again, and then not compensated for the elements that we put in place in our businesses in order to protect our customers. We shut down indoor dining, no problem. I got a warehouse full of plexiglass right now, okay? We went outdoors, all right? Now that's getting shut down. I just put thousands of dollars into outdoor heaters. There is zero scientific evidence that proves that outdoor dining is contributing to a rise in cases related to this, all right? I am only saying that we are going to continue dining outdoors because I can get on an airplane and I can fly and eat and do whatever I want. And don't tell me it's the HEPA filters, okay? Because that's not the case. You don't turn those on until you get onto the plane. Before that, everybody's fornicating on top of each other. I can go into Walmart. Heck, I don't even have to wear pants. Nobody wears a mask at Walmart. I can go get a pink cockatoo for my Christmas tree, but I can't go and dine outdoors at a restaurant. I can go to Target. Amazon's making tons of money. All big business is getting rich. Okay, outdoor dining does not lead to any of that. Therefore, screw that. We're staying open outdoors. It's that simple. I'm not an asshole. The governor is.
And quickly after, a trend began in California.
Gut-wrenching video of a restaurant owner's outrage. She's forced to shut down outdoor dining at her local bar and grill, but then she sees a production crew set up craft services just a few feet away.
Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under. And we need your help. Reopen! Reopen! Reopen!
Restaurant and bar owners protesting outside Supervisor Sheila Kuehl's house in Santa Monica today, angry that outdoor dining in LA County has been shut down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 8 of my illegal walk in Los Angeles. And today, I'm walking with a purpose, because I'm walking to a peaceful protest at Tin Horn Flat Saloon and Grill. It's a protest with burgers and beer.
It wasn't long until the courts agreed that the government was overreaching. On December 8, 2020, the judge tentatively ruled against the ban on outdoor dining in LA County.
Outdoor dining is not going to be able to come back immediately right now with this judge's ruling because we're still under the state stay-at-home order. What it means is LA County's official outdoor dining ban will end on December 16th. And once the state's order is lifted, outdoor dining can then return to LA County.
What the case showed, astonishingly, was that the county officials' ban on outside dining had no scientific basis. They just arbitrarily invoked it.
If they took this as seriously as they portend, then why would they break their own rules? Wouldn't they take it seriously? We just had a newborn. We take it very seriously. My wife and I didn't go out. We were basically quarantining as much as we could. I was not going into the restaurant. I was following what I preached. They're not following anything of what they preach. So it's political now. I can open a restaurant and have a membership, and I can be open according to the rules and regulations. So it's not the activity, it's the economics.
Which leads us back to the question, is there an issue that can unify Americans? The answer is tyranny. When our leaders demand we do as they say and not as they do, resisting their overreach should be an issue that unifies us. With the coronavirus shutdowns, many of our leaders have clearly not practiced what they've preached.
Caught on camera, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seen getting her hair done inside a San Francisco salon.
Denver Mayor Michael Hancock gave you the bird for Thanksgiving. Told you to stay home for the holiday during the pandemic, but then he got on a plane to go see his family out of state.
The government can't arbitrarily keep us from seeing our families, from making a living to feed them, from just living life with all its risks. And they most definitely can't shut us down for no good reason while they disregard their own orders.
Partisan politics has clouded the minds of so many people. Independent thought is the most important way through this. Look at the data, assess it from your own risk category. We all have a different risk threshold.
If there's one thing in these polarizing times that should unify Americans, it's rejecting the hypocrisy of our leaders and resisting their overreach. We must enjoy the same freedoms that they afford themselves. And if we can't agree on that, maybe it's time to start thinking outside the box.
I've referenced this, I've alluded to this a couple of times, because I've seen others allude to this. I actually think that we're trending toward secession.
Red Pilled America is an iHeartRadio original podcast. It's owned and produced by Patrick Corelchi and me, Adriana Cortez of Informed Ventures. Now you can get ad-free access to our entire archive of episodes by becoming a Backstage subscriber. To subscribe, visit redpilledamerica.com and click Join in the top menu. Thanks for listening.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
I think when you're diagnosed with cancer, you crave a semblance of normalcy and control, and so work allowed me to be me. So I think it's really important that companies stay flexible. Cancer and a diagnosis can be all-consuming, but it doesn't have to be.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
What God started in my life, He's going to finish.
The Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. What was meant for my harm, Lord, I want to thank you right now. You're turning to my advantage.
Your daily source of hope and encouragement.
Your second wind is on its way. God is about to breathe on your life in a new way.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union.
At Navy Federal, they want you to know that if you need a positive sign towards achieving your goal of home ownership, this is it. Because even though today's housing market may seem discouraging, the Home Buyer's Choice Loan offers members down payment options as low as 0% with no required private mortgage insurance. Look for your sign today. Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender. Terms and conditions apply. Loan subject to approval and eligibility requirements. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/0down. Brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union.